I just had a moment of clarity while I was sitting in meditation this morning. It disturbed my meditation. These thoughts come. We get our best ideas, when we're meditating, and then we have to try to shove them away and go, no, I can't stop. And then you have this idea, and there's this constant struggle between, what do I do, right? So anyway, so I stayed, and I was aware of my distraction. So that's, I didn't get up and do this until I was finished. But my meditation was completely disturbed this morning. And because I realized that even the disturbance, even our best ideas, right, our concepts, that's not what I realized this morning, but even our best ideas they're just concepts. They're an explanation, an understanding of an experience that's real and not a concept in the present moment. So even our best ideas take us out of the present moment. What happened was, sitting, I allowed my hip to release in a way that it hadn't released before. So if you know anything about my history, I talk about how I had a stiff and painful body, and here I am as an old man. And, I have all this energy, and I'm like, I don't have any pain anymore. I don't really have much stiffness. And my mobility has increased probably for the most time. I'm possibly more mobile now than I've really functionally more mobile now than I ever was, even though I was trying to do martial arts and extreme sports and all this stuff that I kept getting injured. That's a different story. I don't want to go there. But one of my teachers says, our bodies are always trying to come into a state of harmony, right? We're always trying. The body knows how to heal itself, but we get in the way. So everything we do, the act of doing, is the act of getting in the way. Watching what's happening and letting go. The body will respond to that eventually. And it's not easy, because as soon as things start to change, we want to, we wiggle, we distract ourselves, we come into a different state. If we can just sit and not sit in the tension, but sit in a place where we can try to relax. So if you try to put yourself in a position and you maintain that position, you're not relaxed. You have to let, the Tao Te Ching says, you have to be bent to be straight. It's really true. If you were to take a piece of heavy iron that was bent and put it in a way that the bottom of the bow was, on the ground, gravity would gradually straighten that piece of iron out. It wouldn't have to do anything. It wouldn't do anything to straighten out. But we tend to try to think we need to make certain positions, certain shapes. We think we're supposed to move in a certain way. And that way is based on a habit and a pattern that created the imbalance to begin with. So we have to release ourselves into the imbalance. This is the important point. Release into the imbalance and see what happens, and see if the energy of the body will relax the tissues and the body will restore its own balance, which is amazing, and it's incredibly difficult to do because we're always trying to adjust. So we have to actually stop adjusting, and then, when something happens, we immediately get distracted by any release that we have, and so then the body starts to tighten up and go back into its pattern. This is amazing, because I never actually could put this into words before, and I didn't really see I learned this, I have to say, because not from anything that he said, but from watching my teacher, Master Liu Deming. So so not anything that he's put into words, although fortunately, he speaks in metaphor. I wish I had the ability to explain things in quite the way that he does, because it makes you feel something, and I try to just give people details of how to let go and how to align themselves. And maybe I do what I can, right? I mean, he's been doing this for a lot longer, and he has an understanding of this that's not intellectual, right? He has an understanding of this that comes through training and practice of many years. I don't mean this to be particularly a commercial for him, but but in my whole life, anything positive that's going on in my life is kind of a commercial for my teachers, and this was kind of so I had a conversation with my friend Mason Lantay, who is a coach, and I'll try to link him in this, but not that I've worked with him as a coach. I haven't. He's my friend, and he's taken some classes with me, and we've done some practice together. And he said to me, "So why don't you put into words, what is transformational about what you do?" And now I think I can do that. I have learned to watch what the body wants to do and how the body wants to move, and not try to control the movement, but to allow the space to open, which allows the energy to flow. So wherever we go into our tension, this is really important for somebody like me who's done 30 years of yoga. You go into your tension, you go into a stretch where there is a lot of tension, right? So you go past that edge, like where the tension begins, and you go way past that, and then you try to make your body accommodate a certain shape that, and you can't even see yourself from externally to see what that shape is. So you're kind of making it up, and I realized because my hips were crooked, and that created this scoliosis, right? That I kept trying to adjust in the way that was crooked. I didn't realize that this morning. I realized that quite a while ago. You try to adjust in the way that you think is right, but in fact, you are just trying to strengthen your pattern. Whenever you go into a place where there's tension and you go into that tension, it's the nature of the fascia. So that the Taoists understood the fascia. They didn't have to call it the fascia. They didn't have to have a clinical description of it. They understood that the tissues of the body that are the container for the muscles need to be trained before the muscles. And the only way to do that is to allow the energy to flow through them. And the only way to allow the energy to flow is to relax the stiffness. So I think I've gotten this out of my system. And please check out Master Liu Deming, and I really want to thank Mason for putting this in my head. It's also, there's been a lot of influence. I also realized that I kind of heard this more than 30 years ago from my friend, and I think one of the greatest yoga teachers of his generation, Eric Schiffman. And so there's but I wasn't ready to deal with it in my body. It was a concept, it was an idea. So ideas are worthless. Ideas mean crap until we let go of the idea and see what's really happening and allow the space to open so the energy can flow through the space. Okay, I've talked a lot, so I'm just gonna post this and see what happens. And if you like this, the usual YouTube crap. So subscribe to my channel, whatever. Look at my classes. People watch 2 minutes of 30 seconds of these videos, and then they go on. But if you actually do my classes, you might learn something about your body, or or Master Liu, right? You can any of his videos. He can really teach you much more than I could ever teach you. So anyway, thanks. If you've watched this and you've watched it all the way through, thanks a lot. And another thing, my first job was was for some guy who he would like go on these rants. I would be stuck in a car with him. I worked as the, I was his. I was a lackey in a film production company, and this guy who had been something in the 40s, and had done a lot of newsreels during World War II, and his son was basically running the company, and his son was directing films. And this guy didn't really do much anymore, but he would come into his office every day, and so I would have to drive him places sometimes, and he would go on these rants about things, and then he would go, and another thing, and he would talk about something that was totally different and not relevant at all. And see, anyway, so I'm doing these 2 times a week classes, Zoom classes by donation, and you can find on my Facebook page, because my website is a mess, okay? And I'm going to get to it. But you can find them on my Facebook page, the Zoom links, and it's Dance of the Dragon on Facebook. And so take my classes. They're convenient to North America, Asia, and Australia right now. And I'm going to add 1 class a week soon in the next week or 2. I'm taking a poll of people that I know in Europe and see if they're interested and what time they want to do it. So what time works for them. So I'm limiting these classes, they're by donation, and I'm limiting them to a small enough group that I can actually work with you a little bit and see what you're doing. Because I was doing these, like, when I do stuff where there's no, where there's no students, I find it very hard to be motivated. So anyway, I'm just going off this morning, and see ya.